Hello, kids. Welcome to Art Appreciation. We are now on Lesson 8, the principles of art design. So in this video, we will be uncovering the mysteries of art design. And I hope that at the end of the lesson, you will learn something new, some additional concepts that which you can use at your advantage in terms of art application. Okay, so as what we have learned from the previous lesson now, which is the elements of art. So we term these elements of art a lot like the ingredients of a recipe, or usually referred to as the building blocks. Now this time, how the artist combine all the ingredients following particular instructions or directions, or how the artist uses those building blocks and how they choose to build may constitute the principles of design. So, mga difference between yun ng duha ha. To simplify it, so you might have all the ingredients, no, the elements of art, but it doesn't mean you know what to do with them. So you have all the ingredients, you have the space, the lines, the color, and everything that constitute an ingredients for an artwork, but you do not know. It doesn't mean that you know what to do with them. So that is where the principles of design came in. So when we say principles of design, unsa man day na siya? So by definition, the principles of design is how the artists arrange the elements of art, no, the ingredients, the space, the color, the texture, and everything. So how the elements of art, no, are arranged into a composition. How the artist arrange the elements of art into a composition. That's what constitute principles of design. Okay? But you might wonder in yourself, no? I don't even know what composition is. So let's start this lesson with getting to know what a composition is before we proceed to the actual lesson, which is the principles of design. Because if you have no idea what a composition is, so it would be much harder for you to grasp, no, what are the elements, the principles of art that you are going to use into a composition. So, composition is defined as or referred to as the way an artwork is arranged. So, you have all the ingredients, you have the materials. So, when we say composition, how you arrange an artwork, how you arrange particular colors, particular texture, particular lines, no, in order to come up with an artwork. So, ingani na in a painting. So, painting naman ang example ha. So, in a painting, how you arrange the elements is what composition is. So, may kag lines diring dapita sa kilid, and then circle diri dapita sa tunga, and then curve diri dapita sa my left. So that is how you are going to arrange different elements of art. No? And that's what constitute a composition, how you compose the elements of art. Another definition of composition is for the auditory, no? So, or the literary. So, in literary sense, a composition from the Latin to put together. Now is a way a writer assembles words and sentences to create a coherent, meaningful work. So, although lahi po niya definition, but the concept is still the same. Putting together or arranging a particular element to come up with an output. Subon as is composition. Okay? So there are a few compositional tools that we can use. Actually, there are a lot of them, but the biggest ones that we will talk about in this lesson is the rule of third. So rule of third is defined as a compositional guideline that breaks an image down into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. So you have 9 pieces and 4 grid lines according to the rule. By positioning key elements along the grid lines, you'll end up with better composition. Okay. So here we have an example image which we will use to describe what is a rule of third. So I think you're all familiar with this, no? Since most of you are fond of taking pictures with your mobile phone, right? Some of you might be into this phone photography, so I guess you're all familiar with this. Now this is what we call the rule of third. Now this little grid line here, kane, if it is visible. So for those who are not activating or whatever you are going to call it, your grid line, so technically this you have that in your phone. So you just have to activate it or show it or whatever unsa sa term ana niya. But these are what we call the grid lines. This little grid of lines here that you are seeing is actually your basis for the rule of third. So what does the rule of third says? Well, it says that in composition guideline, you need to place your subject either in the left or right third of an image, leaving other 2/3 more open. While there are other forms of composition, the rule of thirds generally leads to compelling and well-composed shot. That is just one way of looking or understanding a composition. The rule of thirds. There are also the golden rule of ratio and many other. But for the sake of understanding what composition is, since it will actually open up to our topic, which is the principles of design, let's just keep it simple with the rule of thirds to show us a little bit of what composition is, and this happens to be my favorite composition tool also. I know I'm a bit biased, but what can I do? So again, how the artist compose by putting his subject here at the third ito, third of an image while leaving the other 2/3 more open. So, wala si Jai but pasabot sa rule of third. And that what comprises a composition. Okay, again, a composition is how an artist arrange elements into a composition. Okay, so here are here is an example of painting with the application of rule of thirds. So of course the key element is being put here now, although there are also elements here, of course, but they are not termed to be the key elements because the primary subject is this one. So it was placed on the asa na sila gibutang left or right third of an image, which comprises the rule of third.
It's
So
11 o'clock.
That is how art artists sometimes arranged their elements of art into an artwork. Okay. So now that we know about the composition, I guess you have now a basic understanding of what the composition is. So we can start tackling about the principles of design. So in this lesson, we have 10 principles of designs in our hand to focus on. And this constitute the pattern, the contrast, the balance, repetition, emphasis, movement, proximity, harmony, rhythm, and of course the proportion. Okay, so we'll be discussing all of this in the next video.